Hello and welcome to Politically Incorrect Knitters for our special debate supplemental episode. My name is Ann Pinkva, joined as always by the lovely Deplorable Knitter.
So Ann and I are joining you today to talk about what we thought of the vice presidential debate. And I posted about it on Instagram, and a lot of people said that they could not stand listening to Kamala Harris, but Ann and I did it for you so that you wouldn't have to. So
at least she knew not to laugh often, because I mean, there's nothing more horrible than Kamala Harris laughing, unless it's Hillary Clinton. It's a very short.
The standards aren't very high, and really, as long as you're not one of them, it's okay.
No, it's incredibly painful. I was going to say, I mean, this is a statement probably later, not the first thing off, but Kamala is just like the little half smirk smile. And when she was saying something that was clearly untruthful, Pence would kind of smile too. Except the funny thing about Pence is that he would actually have like statistics and things to bring up, and she would just avoid the question more.
Yeah, there's a lot of avoiding, and there's just something that was so condescending about the way that she was looking at him and smirking, and so maybe that's her expression. Maybe she's kind of I think that if I was on a stage like that, I would probably be making bizarre faces too, because it's probably uncomfortable. But come on, like, you can't just sit there and smirk and laugh and then not have anything to say. I mean, if the dude is saying stuff that's not true, then you should be smirking and laughing and being like, dude, I did this. And there was none of that. He would say stuff that was totally, about her policies or her track record or whatever. And she'd smirk and smile, but there was never a comeback. There was never so it just made her look like she was kind of like condescending, or people on Instagram were calling her vile.
Oh.
So, it just didn't really help her image, I don't think, at all.
No, and considering what you have the debate, and then I heard just a little bit of the CNN panel after the debate, and they immediately went to, and Pence mansplained. Okay, Kamala said, debt, that's when you have to pay it back, ha, ha, ha. No, wait, I was speaking. This back and forth she clearly tried to frame it as if Pence was mansplaining in quotes to her, and then that just didn't happen. Like,
it wasn't happening.
Pence said was really quiet and respectful, and there was a little talking over each other from both things, but it wasn't as if Pence was the only one interrupting. Kamala also interrupted.
Yes, I have the stats on that. Right. Pence interrupted her 10 times, and she interrupted him 5. So he did interrupt more, but she was spouting more lies. He had more facts to bring to dispute with what she was saying. But I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that whole I was speaking thing just got on my nerves so bad. What do you think you're doing? This is a debate. Did you see the presidential debate? Nobody stood up there acting all high and mighty. I was speaking. Just because your chick doesn't make it so that you don't get interrupted, it's a debate. That's what happens.
Yeah, I'm sorry that when you go into a debate, you assume that you're going to be debated. It's amazing. And there's many a high school debate team that I think could have pulled out a couple more, not only facts, but proper answers. I believe there was a statistic that, Kamala has been the vice presidential candidate for over 40 days now? Okay. And maybe it's as long as 50, but she's been a candidate that long, and after appearance, she has never taken questions. And I'm not sure that this debate counts as taking a question, because she didn't directly answer a thing. She didn't. That, she has asked a clear question about, okay, so what happens with presidential succession, if something were to happen, if Biden was elected, something were to happen, what about that? And then she does this long story about, all the way back to when she was born. And I'm like, well, that's really nice, but that's not the answer to the question.
And she's talking and she's like, oh, Joe and I, we were raised similarly. Really? Was that before or after you accused him of being a racist and rapist and whatever else came out of her mouth towards him? So where is the correlation in your backgrounds?
Yeah,
I'm confused.
We were raised really similarly, when I was accusing him of, being against policies like busing.
Yeah. When I couldn't get on the bus, we were totally on the same page.
Right. Me and him and me on opposite sides of the country. We're just so similar in our upbringing. Like, so similar. Yeah, that's super nice. Oh, and to kind of go back to the beginning, to begin with, the debate starts and here is our socially distanced crowd, and here is our stage with the candidates with two big, barriers between them. I mean, people were more cozy and close together in the ice floes, the Titanic wreckage, clinging to little pieces of wood. At least you could be a little closer. And everyone's just like, blah, they're hanging out.
Well, I heard that she insisted on those plexiglass barriers because she wanted to make sure that COVID was like totally front and center. But what I noticed about it watching it was that they weren't that noticeable. Very rarely did they do a shot where you could see like the candidates looking at each other through them. I mean, really, they were like little lines next to them. It didn't do anything to like, it's just another tactic, a fear tactic of the liberals. She was just so condescending the whole time. And I swear to God, I thought she was going to burst into tears some of the time. The way she presents herself makes me think that she's, I don't know, a small child dressing up in her mother's suit. I don't know.
It's sort of a half, it's a half whiny sympathy play. Like, oh, you should be sorry. And oh, by the way, when I say that Trump destroyed American manufacturing by having a trade war with China, what? Because American manufacturing does so well when everything is manufactured in China. It's amazing. Like those slave kids, they can really make a thing. It helps American manufacturing so much that put lives at risk. That's what she's going to say. I was half going, are you saying the often spreaded theory that China, even if they didn't unleash COVID intentionally, that they certainly closed the borders from Wuhan to the rest of China and allowed planes to leave China to the rest of the world, so that COVID is then spread everywhere else as a retaliation to the trade war with the US? Is that what you're saying? Because no, that's not what she said. She just said that Trump killed manufacturing and people died. No explanation. Like, and Trump doesn't care about pre-existing conditions when he brings up pre-existing conditions on the regular. Oh, by the way, Trump hates your health care. Biden's not going to raise taxes. Biden's not going to stop fracking. I almost wish that there was this would be terrible, but I wish that there was a version of these debates where you could be like, where both sides could be like, okay, we're going to bring up video. Look at what you said.
I know. I mean, that would be crazy, but she constantly talks about fracking. She said that when Joe got in, he was raising taxes. And then later on, when Pence came in and said, you said it. You said on day one, he's going to, no, I didn't. I mean, I made the mistake of going on Instagram and checking out people who are not of the same political persuasion as us. Mm-hmm. And they all just thought she was the most wonderful, beautiful thing that they had ever seen. And I want to know what the heck they were watching last night. Uh-huh. Because what I was watching and what they were watching could not have been even remotely the same.
Right. And not only that, but I was sitting there at home watching it, and she went over every single stupid talking point. And I mean, the ones I saw someone say that, they had a drinking game along, and they really should have, they should have had a drinking game for times that Kamala Harris reads MSNBC headlines, because it was just so.
It was.
I know. It's like, this isn't talking. This is like rubber stamped with adverbs. It's like, what are you talking about? That she was, like, what are the big liberal lies? The liberal lies that no matter how many times that they have been debunked, that you will repeat over and over and over again. And she did it. She said the Donald Trump, there were good people on both sides at Charlottesville when there's tiki torch people walking through the streets, when Trump specifically said that he condemned the white supremacists and the neo-Nazis twice. The good people on both sides, as we have said before, were people who either wanted the Robert E. Lee statue taken down or didn't want the Robert E. Lee statue. And he repeated that he was against the white supremacists twice. Another thing that
clip, Ian, that clip of him saying the whole thing has been going around since the presidential debate. It's not even like we haven't seen it recently. I've seen it half a dozen times. Perhaps it's because I watch Fox News, but and maybe the rest of the world hasn't seen it recently, but I mean, at least come up with something that hasn't been plastered all around.
I know. And not only that, but when internet talking to people, I've been like, he said that he condemned white supremacists. Here's the video. And that doesn't matter. I'm like, well, what does matter? How many times does a guy have to say it? And every time that he says it, you say he hasn't said it, and then he has to say it again, and he will say it again, and that won't matter either. In addition, we have the climate that going out of the Paris Climate Accords caused climate change, and that's what caused our hurricanes. Well, why don't you tell that to the 1910s? Like, what are you?
Right.
Yeah.
And then they were talking about climate change, and they were talking about the forest fires. And even Gavin Newsom agreed with the president that they need to do better forest management.
Uh-huh.
And I will say my husband is not like a scientist, but he studied it in college. It is something that he follows very closely. And he is like, the only reason most scientists agree with this crap is because they control the funding. Mm-hmm. He said, if you could talk to these people without them worrying about their funding, a lot of things would probably be different.
Exactly. That is a reform that we need desperately. That only having, if you have government funding for scientists, that means that scientists are free to make science, not to worry about leanings of anything else. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Like, that is some serious cronyism that you need to cut off at the knees. It's really terrible. But anyways, Kamala throwing out these talking points, and next she's going to say, down the line.
They were talking about the Green New Deal, and she was saying, oh, no, we don't want to do that. And Pence is like, but you co-sponsored it or co-authored it or whatever she did. Right. She was one of the ones that presented it. So how can you be like, no, we're not doing that?
Right. Oh, look, it's your website saying that the Green New Deal is your framework. No, it's not. There's some intern, screaming as he's typing new code into the website. Like, no! Like, and then, like, oh, fracking is evil. I didn't say fracking was evil. Oh,
you Trump said fracking is evil. Like, in the primary debates, that's all you said. Was how bad fracking was, how you were going to stop it, blah, blah, blah. And now all of a sudden you're not. Joe said it too. No, he never said that. What alternate universe do you live in? That's all I want to know. Can I come? Must be fun.
I know. It's pretty neat. No, but it's like, oh, Trump only measures if people are doing well by billionaires. He doesn't care about the working class. Excuse me, let's again talk to the Iron Range of Minnesota. They love Trump. Look at all of those beautiful regulations they cut. So American steel, American iron can happen now. And look how it's very environmentally friendly to mine your own steel instead of having to ship it across the world. It's amazing how much money and energy can be saved when you make your own things. And also, again, make your own things in America, where we do have a certain amount of regulations for environmentalism, as opposed to China, which is just, let's just dump some industrial waste into the Yangtze River.
Whatever.
That's fun.
No big deal. They don't really care about it. They're people, whatever, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But they're okay. So she was attacking the president and Mike Pence about their response to COVID. And, he calmly brings up the fact that the president knew about it. He closed the borders way back when Joe was saying they shouldn't close the borders. And then he's like, what would you do different? And when he said that Biden plagiarized it, and it seems almost like he had plagiarized it, and we all know he has experience with that. It was like,
I know.
But it's true, because everything they're saying is what the Trump campaign is doing, or the Trump administration.
I know. It's all very, who are you going to believe, us or your lion eyes? Because it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I remember my history of 5 months ago. It's like, oh, and Trump hasn't had a single policy to fight COVID this whole time. I'm like, I don't know. I was watching the White House press briefings that were all about what they were doing for COVID. And not only that, but I was sent this cute little postcard, and this postcard told me that I should social distance and wash my hands and do things, and that this is all very, important to do. The 14 days to slow the spread, that is now in its 7th month. But besides that, look, I got the plan in the mail. It's amazing. If, it's all this, if anybody were to somehow tell us what we should believe about COVID, I don't know, was it the doctors that he trotted out every single day that talked about the newest updates in COVID? It's amazing. I wish somebody, like a medical professional, had told me what to do. Oh, wait, it did. They did all the time, every single day. And they still do most days.
It's just crazy. And, the fact that her and Biden have been undermining, like, the vaccine work. Oh, well, if a vaccine comes out now, I don't know if I would take it. If a vaccine comes out, it's been tested. It has been worked on. It shouldn't matter who the administration is. If it comes out, if the FDA, who is supposed to be a nonpartisan, watching out for the people of the United States thing, if they say that it's good to go, then I would assume it's good to go.
And even if you're like, I don't know, man, I'm not sure I want to take this vaccine because it's so quickly out. Trump posted a video today about therapeutics, and he's like, wow, I didn't know much about these drugs, and I took them, and I feel great. This is awesome. And I love the video. It was so funny because he started out, hi, it's me, your favorite president. Like, I love this man. When he does that. I know. I'm like, that is the funniest thing. But about how far, even without a vaccine, how far we have come in therapeutics and how far we've come in treatment of this disease, how you don't need as many people on ventilators now because we know how to treat it faster, that there is enough science in there that, yes, people want the vaccine, not saying don't go forward with the vaccine, but I am saying that there is enough knowledge that we can have medical attention for COVID even without the vaccine. And like, oh, none of that matters. Trump's just evil. It's like incredibly creepy commercial going on the radio. And it's like, are you up to date on your vaccines? Vaccines are so safe and tested. So safe, so tested. And it's just like, every time that they repeat how safe and tested they are, I'm like, every time this goes on, it makes me trust you less. And not that,
dude.
Right. Not that I'm against vaccines on principle. Like, I understand the concept of vaccines, but I kind of wonder about like everything that's in it. And it's even weirder when you realize how shamed you are when you question it. Like, that is the worst. I'm not saying don't look at the that Oh, well, you say you shouldn't have a polio vaccine then. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't have a polio vaccine. I'm saying
No.
I ought to have the right to look at a polio vaccine and see if I want it or not. Like that's
Right. And I'm I'm a little bit different than you maybe, but I personally, especially like the measles, mumps, rubella, the small, like all the stuff that's been pretty much eradicated because of vaccines, I'm all for
yeah.
keeping those going.
Oh,
And
definitely.
actually, I have participated in drug studies,
Mhm.
but that's my choice. I decided that the money I was going to make was worth doing it. And also, the vaccines that I was taking, I actually had the opportunity to do a COVID study, a
Mhm.
COVID vaccine study, and I chose not to just because the other studies, those things have been in development for such a long time before they came to people that I felt like it was a little bit different. The way that the COVID one was rushed made me feel a little bit more nervous about it. But so I'm not against vaccines. I've actually participated in a couple of drug studies
Right.
taking the vaccines before they're out to the people. So I don't really have an issue with that. But anyway, the fact that Biden and Kamala are so against it's just partisan politics. It's just them trying to make people scared, trying to make them think it's bad because Trump's in charge while this is happening. Trump has not much to do with any of it.
Right. When you have a candidate who is for vaccines every other day of the week, except when Trump may have had a finger in it, when it's like, ooh, the Donald is sitting there with the test tubes. That's him. That is what he spends his time doing. So I guess you can't trust it anymore. It's like, no, it's
Well,
still doctors.
and that's a good point too. The fact that they're for it all the time. Like I live in a blue state. Last year, they said that kids can't attend any school if they haven't had their vaccines. There used to be religious exemptions. There are no more in my state.
Which is
You
pretty
have
messed
to
up.
have vaccines. So it's a good point that because this doesn't serve them, they're like, hey, maybe we should wait. Whereas most of the time, they're the ones shoving it down your throat.
Again, vaccines is a back and forth thing. But yeah, that to have
Yeah.
Kamala, who's like, you said, you wouldn't take this vaccine because you don't trust Trump. Oh, well, ha ha ha. But we can't open up until we have a vaccine. But wait, but this, but that. Like, oh,
But the economy is so bad, and if Joe's in office, we're going to lock down everything, and there's going to be mass mandates. Well, how is the economy going to get better?
exactly.
What are you guys going to do?
Exactly. Trump crashed our economy. Why did he do this? He's so horrible. So, what was your plan, Kamala? Not only did you not say anything for a long time, but you're full, let's do mask mandates, let's shut everything down, and we'd be shut down still.
Yeah.
And Miss Law and Order Kamala, who supported the Minnesota, quote, Freedom Fund, which bailed out many violent criminals.
I wish he had brought that up. I wish that he had asked her about that. But I mean, they covered so much in such a short period of time that
you can only say so many things. But it's like, we're just out here fighting for equality and everything's peaceful except for the people who aren't peaceful, which you have to admit there are not peaceful people because you supported a bail fund. Like there's how are we gonna form this one? But
so then of course there was the whole debate about Amy Coney Barrett and the Supreme Court, and Pence came in with great stats about how in 150 years there's been 29 vacancies, 27, something like that, and that the president that was in power always filled them, blah blah blah. And then Kamala came. Well, let me give you a history lesson. And I about wanted to punch her in her head because
I know. Come on. Let me give you a history lesson. We talking about mansplaining again? Because it's you, Kamala. Like, oh. Sorry.
And give us a history lesson about Lincoln.
Oh, let me give you a history lesson. This is something that Lincoln never said. This is so historical, though. Put it in documentary. The history, according to Kamala Harris.
Her saying
don't talk about her family in Jamaica. Don't.
But her saying that Lincoln didn't fill it and kind of making it sound like it was because he was up for election and whatever. Totally not the case.
Yeah,
it's been fact-checked.
Yeah, said that Lincoln said, oh, this is for the next guy, not me. No.
No, he didn't. Senate was not in session. So it didn't matter whether he appointed someone or not because they weren't there to do anything with it.
Not only was the Senate not in session, but there were several different potential Supreme Court candidates, and he wanted the people who wanted the job to campaign for him. So that's why no one was named. And when he did name somebody, when the Senate was back in the session, they were appointed in a day.
Well, then there you go. So, Mama, maybe you need a history lesson.
Maybe. Oh.
Oh, dang.
Oh, man. Oh, so, facts. They're so difficult.
And of course, abortion came up. And I just don't, I'm a woman. You're a woman.
Indeed.
I don't understand why people act like the only thing that can be important to us is our uterus. And, excuse me, but we live in a world where there's a lot of information now. There are lots of things that we know we can do to prevent getting pregnant if we choose. Mm-hmm. Many, many different choices that we have as women, as strong, capable women. And they act like the only thing we can possibly do is get an abortion. I don't understand that. How does that make it my right to choose? Why can I choose to abort a baby, but I can't choose whether or not I wear a mask?
That's very true. And you can sit there with your lilty, whiny, cry voice and talk about women's rights to whatever. Like, it's, oh, it's so terrible. And then again, with the asking about judges, like, oh, well, she's just going to take away our abortions. Well, la-di freaking da. But also that, I know that's a big subject for a lot of people, but I'm like, yeah, whatever. But the thing of, well, if we appoint her, are you going to pack the seats? Well, I'm going to tell you about this. Haha. No, are you going to pack the court? No, I'm going this direction. Are you going to pack the court? Are you? Like, Pence was the only one asking any serious questions on that stage.
Well, his actual, when he asked her about if they were going to pack the court, she didn't answer. And his response was, you gave a non-answer, Joe gave a non-answer. The people deserve an answer. And if you guys haven't figured it out, they are going to pack the court if they win the election. Like right. He's right. But
and like the last question, when the last question was submitted and Kamala did this like, oh, well, this is such a strong woman leadership thing that you're such a leader for asking a question that with many rhetoric beginning talking points. So it's kind of like you're trying to, write one of those bad spoken word poems. Ugh. But it's like, oh, well, this is such a beautiful, strong woman thing to ask a question. The bar is so low. And not only so low that she is the best of us, apparently. This Miss, oh, well, I'm the only person on this stage who has been a prosecutor. Well, I'm the only person on this stage who's been a governor. What of it, Kamala? Like...
And I mean, if you want to go that way, she was also the only woman on the stage who got her position by dating somebody who was more powerful than her.
Mm-hmm.
Just, but I think that, like, abortion isn't a huge thing to me. I know where I stand. I'm a Christian. I have my beliefs. But I think that what bothers me most about that stuff and the fact that they, like, don't like Amy Coney Barrett and stuff is that they are making it seem like women have to look up to this very poor example.
Oh.
I would rather have them saying, hey, you should go after Amy Coney Barrett. She's awesome. She is a mother and a Catholic and a judge and no, we've got the chick who got her position from favors that she did to powerful people. That's not what I want to look up to. That's not what I want my kids to look up to. It's great to have women in positions of power, don't get me wrong, but there's got to be better. Why do we have to get the lowest common denominator piece of crap that they can dig up out of the gutter? She sucks. Sorry.
I saw someone post that you have Joe Biden, whose presidential candidacy could never go forward to any extent without a person of color, and Kamala Harris, who can't get ahead without a man. Like these are your examples. These are your, when she was saying, would my mother be proud of me? Was your mom proud of you? Was she really? Like, at what point was your mother made aware of this? And did your father, Mr. Oh yeah, my family totally had slaves. What was his comments?
They had slaves?
Yeah, in Jamaica. She comes
I
from a
didn't know
slave.
that.
Oh yeah, she does. Her family did have slaves in Jamaica. And her dad was very forthright about it on an interview previously. So yeah, but not saying that people whose ancestors had slaves, that disqualifies them, but maybe she should bring it up and talk about what a wonderful turnaround that is for her family. That's not what she has done.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that the thing that struck me the most is that she did more or less anything she could to stick to talking points, to not have any substance. Nothing happened that made me want to find out more about her or anything. You know, Pence brings up her record. She doesn't respond to anything he says. If you have a record that you're proud of, you should stand up for it. You know, if you are excited about your plan with Biden, about the environment, the not Green New Deal that you're pushing, talk about it. I didn't learn anything new. I just learned that she was smug and condescending.
Yeah, smug and condescending. Oh, and the one line that she was talking about how Trump was so evil for having put American lives in danger. Oh, she did that fake Russian story about how Russians are paying bounties on the heads of soldiers. Fake. Yep. She did the whole thing where like, oh, Trump called soldiers losers. So fake. So
and
fake.
It goes right with the other thing we talked about that has been disproven so many times, but they can't come up with anything new.
Right. And then when Pence said, when they killed al-Baghdadi, and Soleimani, that, the one American woman who was held prisoner for over a year, and the Obamas didn't go in. So she just did this sort of simpering like, oh, well, that's horrible. And I'm like, well, that's nice. So what do you want to do about it? Like, oh, America, sorry, it was always America. So Trump came in and then said, yeah, that guy, he's done. He's over with. Oh, well, some people were injured and that's our fault. I'm sorry. Soleimani, the sort of father of the IED, you think Americans weren't injured with him around and alive? What are you doing? And then you have Biden, who I didn't know this previously, but someone mentioned, it was Pence who mentioned, and I had to look it up, that Biden was actually against going in and killing Osama bin Laden. I didn't know that.
Oh, I didn't know that either. Even though I watched the debate, I did not hear. There was so much to take in, and probably my husband and I were complaining about her when that happened because we had to get our little conversation in. So I missed that part.
Right. No, that Biden was against that. And I'm like, really? No, that Obama specifically said that Biden wasn't for this, but we went in anyways, which is curious.
That is curious.
But yeah, it's like, do you really want Biden as the guy who is against killing terrorists? Like that's your bud. And she was always like, Joe and I talked, our buddies.
Yeah, we're so similar. Yeah, okay, whatever.
So do you remember when Obama had, I don't know if it's an official presidential, but Obama had a Snapchat, and the Snapchat, this legitimately happened. And you're like, no, Ann, this couldn't have happened. It's too dumb. No, this happened. That Joe Biden made a friendship bracelet for Obama.
What?
This actual, don't be like, oh, well, this didn't happen. And no, it happened. It was a little braided friendship bracelet with the little beads with the names on it.
No,
he
didn't really make it.
He really did. And that was when he was still in office. So you're all there and your buddy Obama. And like,
wow.
Like, oh, does Kamala get a friendship bracelet? I'm just asking. No, but your buddy Joe Biden, your best friend, your buddy bud, you're all chatting and friendship braceleting it up, or at least I hope. And yeah, you're just so similar, he and you and I. and we're just going to be such buddies and not answer anybody's questions and talk about apparent policy decisions or,
Wow.
and just say
Okay,
that our tax policies are better than yours. What's your tax policy? Raisin buddy. Oh, but not
raise them up. Yeah.
anyone who not for anyone who makes less than the president. But yeah, we're really what?
But
Let's harass the.
So my husband's point about that is that when you raise taxes on corporations, they don't really pay it. You know what they do? They pass the price hike on to its consumers. So really, their plan to raise taxes on the elite is just really going to hurt people, because the people who are able to make jobs aren't going to do it. They're going to leave states and countries. They're going to outsource. They're going to, and if they can't do that stuff, they're going to give it to the people. So really, you're just screwing the little guy in the end.
Exactly. We support manufacturing so much that we are going to tax the richest people. You mean the people who are using their wealth to actually create manufacturing in America? You mean those people?
Yeah, totally.
Wait. That doesn't work. Wait. I only wish somebody could have thought this through.
The best line of the night, and I think he said it twice: you're entitled to your own opinions. You're not entitled to your own facts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we should use that as our motto, Anne. I mean,
yeah, we should just hang it in a little cutesy felt
I can
banner.
totally, we can have it behind us. You have the perfect corner right there.
Oh, I do. Just like, woo.
Because it's true, and that's what it is. The problem with the left is that everything is so how I feel and what I want and what I think. And it doesn't have a lot of basis in anything that's got to do with like real life, which makes it difficult.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of letting your policies and your reality match, that, in this hypothetical world where, for an example, apparently women of color can't get ahead because they're a minority, says Kamala Harris, as she's a vice presidential pick and a senator and a prosecutor and everything else. We're so oppressed that our prosecutors are in a very shallow way of the same skin color that we are. That you have this very, well, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, but it is, we're oppressed. These, the Democratic talking points that we repeat over and over, that, Trump said soldiers were losers and suckers. Yeah, we keep refuting this, but that doesn't stop you from saying it again. Like, in fact, it like marries you to it more, which you can't do that. Down the line that, Trump and Russia are such good buds, and Trump is against NATO and he is against our allies. And I'm just sitting here like, no, you can't begin to say how untrue this is. You mean Trump, who made everybody pay their 2%? You mean Trump, who said, hey, Germany, why are you doing this deal with Russia if I'm supposed to be protecting you from Russia? Stop it. You mean those people? You mean
or he's such good friends with Russia that we found out that everything was masterminded by Hillary Clinton. But hey, whatever. That doesn't.
Such good friends with Russia that his sons get millions of dollars from Russian. Oh, wait, no, that wasn't him.
No. That was still on the other side. Go figure.
Oh, man. This is just, what a bad night. Oh, this is embarrassing. While I'm totally like, yeah, I'll watch the debate. I'll do this and that. The entire time I was just like, ugh. Besides, it's like, I'm sitting here and it's like the ADD and start snapping. Like, if y'all could talk a little faster, we could get through this.
That was one thing I noticed about it. There were long pauses. Mike Pence is very like modulated, or
very deliberate.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. And but he does it and it's very stately. or very, you can tell he really is thinking about what he says and he really means it, whereas she was doing it, but it was almost in that condescending, I think I'm so much better than you way.
It was a
large difference between how the two of them act.
Right. It was a combination of condescending and weepy. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, the weeping. I swear to God, I was waiting for her to just explode into tears, just buckets, because that's what she sounded like.
No, but anyways, so throughout the entire debate, I'm like, come on, Mike, I love you, Mike, and I know that he's talking quietly, and he's talking not quietly, he's talking respectfully, and he's trying to explain and to talk about the facts and do everything else. And he didn't let the moderator knock him off his game either. He's like, "No, I'm gonna finish." And Kamala also did not go finish. He just kept talking. He just kept talking, and she wasn't able to talk over him. He's just like, "No, I'm still going." But there is a certain amount, and I know it's not as if I don't know that the talking and squabbling of the presidential debate, that was pretty obnoxious, but there is a certain amount of people, and there's a large segment of never Trumpers who are this way, that are the, oh, let's be reasonable crowd. And the, oh, let's be reasonable crowd drives me up a wall, because they're so reasonable, they'd sell the shop before they say boo. That they're so like, oh, well, we're too well-mannered to say or do or react or do anything. And if we just say nothing and smile, everything is still going to be okay. And that there's a certain amount of, I'm sorry, but it's not. That you're, oh, I can't be unreasonable and do something like openly support a Republican candidate because what would they think of me? It's like, yeah, because supporting the other side is the most reasonable thing to do, or assumption that you support the other side is the most reasonable thing to do. And it's this very quiet that I am more reasonable because I'm talking more slowly. Like, I'd rather William Shatner do it. It's just like you're taking, when you have an audiobook and you can up it by like 1.5 speed, I'm like, where's the button? So sorry, I was a little impatient for all of this, even though I understand that there's a certain amount of stateliness and a certain amount of comfort and a certain amount of, again, reasonableness that talking more slowly gives. It drove me a bit nuts.
It was a little slow, and the way that they acted like they had all the time in the world was kind of like, come on, I was like, I gotta go to bed. Can you hurry it up just a tad? Just up it just a little bit.
What is this, a Victor Hugo novel? Faster! We don't have 800 pages.
Before we go, though, Anne, did you hear the latest news today that they want the presidential debate to be virtual?
Oh.
President saying no, not a chance.
Not a chance. And absolutely not. Draw a line, because there's enough, the presidential commission, which is, all deep state types that are retired and nobody knows them anymore. So they're going to put a presidential commission that puts Joe Biden's, someone who was in his campaign formerly, as the debate moderator. Oh, how fair and how reasonable are you? What the?
Fabulous. But seriously, if they do a virtual debate, A, Trump has already said it's going to be a waste of time. I'm not going to do it. Mm-hmm. B, they put it out without speaking to either party, which makes no sense. And C, how are you going to know that Joe is not being prompted? Of course he's going to be prompted. They'll probably be feeding answers into a teleprompter as fast as somebody can type once the question's asked.
Oh, definitely. I mean, he's done it before, because we've seen reflections of teleprompter, and we have seen where he's sort of killed time for a little bit and it has come up. This is not that's just a conspiracy. No, he's literally done this and answering questions from James Corden. If you're on a comedy show and you need a teleprompter to answer questions, you have some issues that you have. It's just, oh my goodness. And this will probably have happened before this has been published, but Trump is doing a radio town hall on Rush's show Friday. So I am so excited about this. I can't wait. And I'm sure, there'll be recordings of that. Yeah, y'all can look in on it.
That's how I usually listen to Rush. I can never listen to him for 3 hours in the afternoon, so I always go back and listen later. So if people want to hear it, they'll be able to probably. And then, just because you know me and my conspiracy theories, I love them.
Right.
I heard that Kamala had the debate questions.
Really?
It was tweeted out.
Yeah. So yeah, Christy was very good, all talking about the debate and COVID and, how under Biden she wouldn't be allowed to let South Dakota be as free as it is. Even though that in my specific town, while I'm working, I still have to wear the, forgive me, crumpled up panty liner on my face. It's terrible. But otherwise, so she's out there on Hannity and everything's great. But I think she's going to like the Trump makeup team because she's looking a little orange and her eyebrows are a little like, I'm like, I'm like, no, that's not, don't do
Take
that.
it down a notch.
I mean,
bring it back a little.
I know. I'm not sure if she has yet or if she is going to Michigan to talk for the Trump campaign about different things. And, you have Kristi Noem, who is called by her detractors Cowgirl Barbie. And then you have Gretchen Face Like an Axe Whitmer. I mean, which one would you like to go for? I'm not sure. But that I'm like, Christy, keep your eyebrows across. It's okay. You don't need to do the.
It's funny. But yeah, so the debate, besides the fact that Kamala made me want to turn her off because it was like listening to a bunch of 5-year-olds whine. It was good. Pence had an amazing showing. Very measured, very calm, very fact-oriented. It was excellent.
Yep. Very fact-oriented. And also, again, that they were going to say, oh, well, he's mansplaining. And everything he did was incredibly measured and incredibly back to the basics and incredibly, hey, this is what's going on. And I'm sure, I'm sure media will be like, oh, well, Pence is so horrible. And, you cannot, well, I'm sure somebody can, but in watching the debate, you cannot say that Pence was ill-mannered at all. In fact, ever, but also, and specifically in this debate.
But, and the whole mansplaining thing, it's very double-sided of them. A woman can do this, a woman can do anything, blah, blah, blah. Oh, he was interrupting her. Oh, he was mansplaining. It's a debate. This is how they work. You're going to say something, I'm going to disagree with you, and I'm going to tell you why I disagree with you. That is not mansplaining. That is a debate.
It's like, I'm sorry, are you a grown woman and a senator or not? Okay, right. Because if you're such a strong, independent female, then you should be able to take a debate that is much more hotly contested than the one that you were just in. Okay,
yeah,
I'm so sorry that you're
president and Trump is shouting in your face. What are they going to say then? I mean,
right?
Come on.
Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry that you don't like it when people ask you questions, but in the real world, you have to answer them.
Yeah, in the real world, you don't get 40 or 50 days of softball questions or no questions. So move along. Whatever.
It's dreadful.
It was dreadful. All right, Anne.
All right.
Thanks for joining us for this fabulous Captain's Log supplementary episode. And we will see you next week.
We will, if there's a debate or not.
Yes, if there's a debate or not, we will still be there because you can't get rid of us.
That's right.
All right, see you next time.
All right, bye.